The fundamental reason why you want to do clockwise and counterclockwise analog stick inputs for arrow left and arrow right are basically if you were to sync up your stick with your car, this is what you would see. So we're going to go with arrow left, and if we sync it up just right, you should see that the nose of the car travels in either the clockwise or the counterclockwise direction. So let's go ahead and attempt to sync it up. Now I can switch direction just by doing the counterclockwise inputs of the stick. So I'm doing counterclockwise stick inputs only, and I can do clockwise and counterclockwise spins around. This is the fundamental building block of how to adjust your car in 3D space. If you sync up your stick with the car, you'll be able to do these clockwise and counterclockwise spins. And this is why I say to do clockwise and counterclockwise with arrow left and arrow right. And if you bring this into free play, the way you practice it is by doing circles around the ball. So with arrow left, you do counterclockwise stick rotations, and you try to make the nose of the car stay in front of the ball. The idea here is to hone in on the small inputs, the ones where you're barely touching the stick, and do continuous circles around, keeping the nose of your car in front of the ball. And then once you can do this in the counterclockwise direction with arrow left, or clockwise direction with arrow right, you switch around and fly around the opposite way. And the idea is the same, just to keep the nose of your car pointed in front of the ball. And you want to hone in on those tiny adjustments where you're barely moving the analog stick with your thumb. And you want to keep it in front of the ball as close as you can. Keep those analog sticks spinning in a continuous motion. Now, when you're doing big adjustments, the idea isn't to do continuous motions with the stick, because you'll notice that it'll start doing what we saw in zero gravity. You want to hone in on those tiny adjustments. And it's the same thing with arrow right, with the clockwise stick inputs. You want to sync it up with the car and do those tiny adjustments. Really hone in on those tiny adjustments so you can do the continuous motions around the stick. And then how you practice that is with the drill, you have 4 checkpoints. One with the roof of the car facing you, the left side facing you, with the bottom of the car facing you, and the right side of the car facing you. When the roof of the car faces you, with a directional air roll left, you want to pull to the left and sweep in the counterclockwise direction. And what you can do is just wait for the roof of the car to face you, and then do those inputs. And the idea is you want to learn when to let go of the stick, or learn when to keep spinning. If I do too much, the nose of my car will face behind the ball, and that'll let me know when I need to let go. So keep practicing it and try to extend how long you're spinning the stick. So you will try to go through all 4 checkpoints in one rotation of the stick. But like I said, you want to hone in on those small adjustments so you can keep syncing up your stick with the checkpoints. And then the way you translate it over to the rings maps is once you've learned how to change direction from going counterclockwise to clockwise, you'll start using those inputs in rings. Just kind of imagine if you're going in a clockwise direction like right here, just do those inputs like you would have done around clockwise of the ball, and then again here with clockwise rotations, and then switch over to counterclockwise rotations of the stick. Take a little bit of getting used to using both of them so close together, and when you're in free play, you want to practice switching directions left and right, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. And then once you come into rings maps, the idea is you want to get used to switching faster and faster between which direction you're going. You don't necessarily want to be holding down your stick inputs. You want to keep spinning it or let it go. And as you can see, I'm doing double rotations, but that's because I'm trying to get my stick back into the counterclockwise or clockwise flight directions. So if I'm flying too much to the counterclockwise direction, I'll correct by flying in the clockwise direction with my analog stick. And you can do these quick motions where you sync back up to your car depending on which direction you're trying to travel. Ideally, you would get used to doing the small inputs, and you wouldn't have to necessarily do the double rotations with the stick.